Hi, welcome back to Weird Shit We Did for Science. Today I'm going to tell you about a time they stuck a dead salmon into an fMRI machine to demonstrate the dangers of false positives when evaluating brain activity. So basically we've got the MRI machine, right? And they were doing fMRI studies, which is functional magnetic resonance imaging. In a traditional MRI, it's taking a bunch of composite images of the brain, putting them together to give you a picture. With the fMRI, it's more like a time-lapse series where they put up all the colorful blotches to show where the blood is flowing in the brain. And they use it a lot in neuroscience studies where they show you images and they want to see what parts of the brain that stimulate. So where does the blood go if we show you pancakes versus maggots versus naked ladies, that sort of thing. And when you're working with insanely precise analytical equipment that can detect things that are simple, puny human senses can't, like tiny molecules, subatomic particles, wavelengths that aren't visible to us, it's really important that your equipment is properly set and calibrated because it turns out there can be background noise. And in this case, they demonstrated that the background noise is a problem because they stuck a dead North Atlantic salmon into the multi-million-dollar fMRI machine and found brain activity. The brain activity wasn't real. We don't have like a zombie salmon situation here. What it is, when the measurements are taken in this composite imaging of voxels, as they're called, which is like a 3D pixel, the variation between them initiate a false positive signal that will be computed into the image that you're seeing. And that can be caused by thermal changes in the environment, vibrational issues with the equipment. I mean, not in the case of a dead salmon, but if they were analyzing a living thing, any sort of additional movement could affect that sort of reading. And the point they were trying to make is that you have to use the correct statistical methods of cluster analysis and of setting appropriate thresholds so that you can try to minimize this false positive signal that you get. Because if you don't, you could end up saying that brain activity is occurring somewhere where it is not, and rendering all your data useless for that study on, living things. You may be wondering, why did they use a salmon? Basically they wanted to use a vertebrate because vertebrate CNSs all have a lot in common. And most importantly, probably to avoid a lot of review boards for ethics and things. Like even if they wanted to do this to a not living human, that would be a lot of hoops to jump through and things you gotta do. Whereas if you just run to the seafood market and buy a whole fish, no one's gonna tell you can't throw it into an fMRI machine. Well, hospital administrators probably would, but researchers get away with a lot of weird stuff. So sometimes you just need to perform extraordinarily expensive medical procedures on a dead fish. That's your weird science history for the day. I'll see you next time.